Shoot.
We would have to do that.
You don't have to do an executive session, you just ask if there was any way it could be an executive session.
Call this meeting in order, all stand and face the flag for pledge.
Scared me.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Roll call, Brett Luther.
Present.
R.J. Dunn.
Here.
Jim Yoakham's here. Approval of minutes.
We have an amendment to the jail bonds for July 22nd date and the August 10th date. And the August 10th is the closing, and I'll send the actual language to you. I make a motion that we approve the minutes as amended.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Approval of payroll.
Make a motion we approve the payroll as written.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Treasurer's report.
Skip claims, Tim.
Okay. Approval of claims.
I'll make a motion to approve claims.
And that one was removed, correct?
Yes, it's not in.
Okay. I'll second the motion.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Treasurer's report, July. Are you in here? I thought she'd be here to take care of that. We'll come back to that. Open issues, Health Department. Wendy and Peggy, excuse me.
Good morning. Good morning. I apologize, I could not get my scanner to work yesterday to get you guys your information, so I did copy this for you guys. The updates.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so as of, my name is Wendy Farley, I'm the Health Department Administrator, and this is Peggy Parsons. She's our employee, our emergency preparedness, and our health educator. So I brought her in case you guys had any questions for her as well. Up to date, through July 1st through the 31st, we've had a total of 50 cases. And I broke them down for you guys. As of yesterday, we were notified within 1 week we had 30 cases. The first week we had 8, the second week we had 9, the week before last we had 5 cases, and then we've jumped to 30 in this last week. So we are having more people coming through for testing. In the month of July we had 75, in the month of June we had 20 people tested.
Is it the same strain or is it a different strain, or can they tell when they test?
We don't get the results, the individual does. So it does not tell them at that point when they get, if they have, what strain they have.
Some of those that are showing up with COVID have had it before, or is there any in that mix?
I have had 2 reports. I have actually talked to 2 people that have had, one of them had the Pfizer vaccine and one of them had the Moderna vaccine, and they both tested positive for COVID. Their symptoms are less severe, but they did test positive.
Okay, that was the second question. I heard the symptoms are not as extreme and don't last as long.
How do we know that?
What's that?
That's less severe.
Well, one of them had COVID before they had the vaccine, so they were telling us how they felt to what they did now. I did speak with Dr. Albright yesterday, and we discussed that, and he said what he's seeing, and he's doing a lot of scientific, is that it is a less severe case of COVID. Not saying you won't, I mean, you'll be sick, but not to that point where hospitalization not necessarily will be what will happen.
It's been reported by Israel, if you've had COVID, you're like 12.7 times more antibodies than the vaccination. Is it because of the vaccination, or is it because they had COVID, or we just really don't know that they had less severe?
Honestly, for me, I don't know. I wouldn't have that answer.
Yeah, a lot of questions there, I
It's
guess.
kind of hard to say because the virus is so unpredictable. And at this point, with the Delta, they're saying it is, you can get it like the chicken pox. So at this point, it's starting to be aggressive.
Before these numbers came up, 30 in the last 2
In the
weeks or
last
3
week.
weeks? Last week. What was our number before that, 0 or close to that?
No, the week before we had 5 cases.
5,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah. One of the issue is if they go to Illinois and test, we necessarily don't always get those reports. We've called Carl Clinic and clinics over there to ask them, and reached out to their health department to make sure that we do get the residents of Romaine County, but we can't guarantee we're getting all of them. And I know there's several that will go to Carl Clinic in Illinois and test. So that's kind of been a challenge for us, but we've tried to get the numbers the best we can.
Is there something we can do to help?
If people choose to test there,
I mean, get some cooperation where they'll send the information.
they've been
over.
really good, but if we, maybe they don't talk to their staff. The last week we've got several from them, but we keep trying to reach out to them and tell them we need those test results if they're positive. So, like I said, for the testing, we had 75 in this month, in July, and then 20 in June. Vaccinations total for July was 177. That's just within the health department. And then in June, we did 152 vaccines. So fully vaccinated residents for Romaine County is 5,473. And I know, Tim, you asked about the variants. The state's telling us it is 80% of the samples that are going through are positive for Delta. And that's the variant of concern right now.
And how does that compare to the original COVID outbreak? Is it worse? Is it not as bad?
I think it's more aggressive, is what we're being told. They call it the fastest and the fittest, so it's gaining strength. Some of our things that we had, and like last month, the Delta was only 42%, and this is within the state of Indiana. So there's an increase in the Delta moving through the state.
Outbreak, is it showing up uniformly all over the United States? Or do you know?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can we get this all? Is the governor? Are we changing anything that's being done in the state at this point?
Not at this point. When I spoke with Dr. Albright yesterday, we've talked before. I know the CDC has recommended masks. At this point, he said we need to look at the risk factor. And as of yesterday, we had 30. So our risk factor's up. He's not changing anything with the mask. We've talked to both superintendents. They're leaving it optional for the kids at this point. That could change in the future if we continue to grow in numbers.
Okay.
So as of yesterday, we went to South Romaine and finished our first clinic with them for the students and staff. We're going to be returning there on August 20th. Mr. Chapman has asked us to come back into both schools, so we'll be going to the middle school and the high school and doing vaccines there. They'll have to be pre-registered because they'll have to have a parent signature. And then I spoke with Mr. Nelson yesterday, and he'll let us know if they're wanting us to come there. We're open to go anywhere we need to go to get people vaccinated. Anyone that wants to be vaccinated, well, even work to where we can go into your home and get it done as well. There's a homebound program that we can get you signed up with and get vaccines to people that aren't able to get out.
With the original vaccine, is there another vaccine for this Delta, or is?
Not at this point.
And it will not, original vaccine will not cover this new outbreak?
Well, we're seeing the outbreaks even if you are vaccinated, so at this point, I think it's just a risk you take. If you want the vaccine, you still have that risk. The risk isn't zero, I should say, whether you're vaccinated or not. We are changing our hours, and this was prior to, as of yesterday's conversation. So we are still doing the testing and we are doing the vaccines. We will be doing them Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1 to 6 at the health department, and then Saturday, 12 to 3. And so you can be, there's testing and vaccines at the same time.
How you doing on funding? You need any help? Or you
We
just-
actually received a grant from the state for the vaccines for $32,000, and we are getting another grant for testing, $100,000 is what they're giving us. And that will take us through next year, the end of June. So that's, we're able to use the grant money for the testing and the vaccines at this point. And they've supplied all of our supplies for the testing. We've not had to buy any type of supplies for our testing at all. And as well as our vaccines, we've not bought any supplies. So at this point, that's where we're at. The state has asked us to do after hours, which since we changed the hours, we've done a couple extra hours in the evenings and then on Saturdays. That's where we're going to be at this point. It could change within, however our numbers change. But at this point, this is what we feel like will be fine with where we're at with COVID.
Do you have a change of status as far as caller-wise or anything on it since this has changed?
Do I have a what?
Change of the caller rating.
They have not gave us that. As soon as we get that, I will email you guys and let you know what it is. If you guys would like to be added to that, I do email Tim and the auditor and let them know where we're at each week. So at this point, we're still yellow, which is low to moderate, but I don't know what it'll be with the change in the numbers. Fever, yes. The symptoms are still the same, except they are finding out they're not seeing a lot of them that are losing taste and smell. Some of them have, but not necessarily are they doing that with the Delta variant at this point.
Should we go back to doing the temperatures downstairs?
Not at this point. Yep.
And those that get it the second time are still carry it and can spread just as much as the original.
Yep. Unfortunately. Yeah.
Anybody in the audience have any questions for the health department? You guys got any questions?
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you guys.
Rain Rise.
Morning, everyone.
Morning, Bob.
Morning.
I have a housekeeping item I wanted to get mentioned first. So, a bit of good news. We borrowed money for a water line back in 2015 from CoBank, refinanced it with Farm Credit, and they're found a way to lower our interest rate. So we'd like to do that. To do that, we need the commissioners to also sign the loan agreement. It's a statutory matter about borrowing money for the reuse authority. So that's a resolution that basically, tees up what's transpiring, that there's this opportunity to refinance. Statute says the commissioners have to
sign that even though you have absolutely no obligation to repay it. Put your name on it. And then we did this when we refinanced with Farm Credit back in 2019. Same arrangement. Asked the commissioners to sign this agreement. We've been making all the payments. So again, I see it as a housekeeping item. I think we shared it with John and then copied you all. And then this is the actual loan agreement that the commissioner and the auditor would sign. So we were thinking the resolution would sort of, for the minutes, tell the story, and then if that's all in order, then it would give you the approval to sign the loan document.
Anybody have any objections to that?
Don't necessarily have any objections, but the loan was taken out for the purpose of the water line?
The new water line from the well field, it
Oh, yeah.
replaced the 48-inch, put in a new 24, the $3 million project, 2015.
And your accounting says that you can easily pay for this as you go by with
Yes.
your revenues from? Is this coming just from the water the water portion?
No,
Of the-
no, it's just from our general revenue, the water utility. You know, we got a handful of customers. It doesn't generate that kind of revenue.
Did you look at, or I noticed this is a promissory note basically. Is there a reason why it wasn't done through a utility type arrangement? The reason why I asked that is our state board, or not state board, but I can't think of this fund, SBA funds, whatever that's called. But anyway, interest rates are typically lower than what a promissory note. Is there a reason why that you went around to a promissory note to do this?
Maybe a couple things. One is the Farm Credit was the only lender who expressed interest in getting us out of the co-bank loan, which was 3 years interest only. So we had to land somewhere, and that was kind of it, and this is what they prescribed. So we didn't have a lot of say. I will mention that it was interesting. Barnes-Thornburg and Farm Credit worked. Reuse authorities were not intended to have mortgages, but rather bonds, kind of a municipal
Right,
instrument. And they turned the mortgage into a bond, just for the sake of, it's complicated and again, statutory, but that's how that worked out. And we've gone to USDA and Indiana Finance Authority and all those organizations again when we needed financing and couldn't find it. They borrow against future revenues that are driven from the utility, and again with 4 customers, they just can't see their way to lend us money.
And you did consider a bond issue, but didn't go that route because of...
Yeah, that would have been back with the $3 million, and I don't know, $3 million might have been maybe on the borderline between all the cost to issue a bond versus the interest rate.
Too small of an amount, is
Maybe.
basically what we're down to.
I'm thinking just, what they might have been thinking back then.
And
but-
this is still the best instrument that your board has found, so...
Yeah, and CoBank was the only way to do it. We were under agreed order from IDEM. We were spooked they're going to shut the whole water system down. That 48-inch line, I understand, was sort of like a sieve in some parts.
Sure.
So it was kind of the only options on the table.
And it still is the only option on the table,
Yeah.
as far as you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now we did, just FYI, some of the recovery money went to Indiana Finance Authority, and we did put in an application with HWC's help because, again, under IFA's normal profile, we don't qualify, but with this federal money, we could. So we're asking for, and that's for the reservoir bypass project that would get our project square.
That was one of the questions I was going to ask you. As you being the reuse authority, are you limited a lot more as far as getting funding, like through normal ways of government funding? I mean, we get grants and stuff,
Right.
you know.
We're
Are you guys
eligible-
restricted in
yeah,
some way?
we're
because-
eligible, I think, for the garden variety of state and federal programs. It's just that when we get to like utilities, our utility profile just doesn't match up with their expectations about a customer base or a rate base and utility revenue. And that sort of keeps us from going through the typical doors. And then Okra, you know, we don't have any, if you get Okra money, so many people got to be low mod to benefit from it. There's no residents in the rise, so we're sort of categorically left out. So it has been tougher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Annie, what would be the resolution number for the 17?
Another question is here we're dealing with the resolution here, but yet this was taken care of in 2019. So why should we have to do it now if it was done in 2019? And it was signed by the other commissioners.
Yes.
So
And the thing is that I never dreamt a bank would do this, but Farm Credit came back and said, you're at 5%, we can get you down to 4.15. So it's a lower rate, we save some money. So that's why we're here, is just to change the rate with this modification.
If anyone don't have any objections, I would move to make a motion to pass resolution number 17 by title, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Vermilion County, Indiana, approving an interest rate conversion by the Newport Chemical Depot Reuse Authority.
I'll second your motion.
discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you, Bob.
John, it's usually on loan documents, which you can sign one or all. I didn't know. We'd like it original to take to the lender
So you went from a 4 to a 2?
from a 5 to a 4.15. 4.15. On another note, we had the last 2 weeks, we have seen a bit of an increase just in inquiry on the Shell building, so that's been nice. Our listing agreement with Cushman Wakefield is terminated or run its course. We're still talking to Garmon about what might be a next step if we want to list it again or maybe take a pause, so we'll keep you posted.
Is there any way you could check on, Dan Zuner sent a message out about a meeting that the head of Indiana Economic Development sometime in the future? Did you see that email?
Yes,
also?
and I agree. And matter of fact, you know, when the new secretary was announced, I sent our contact Wes Brown a note saying I'm getting in line. We want to meet with the new secretary. So I'm sure there's 92 other counties or 91 other counties that want to do the same. So yeah, we'll try to follow up on that. He's a busy guy, but stay on it.
So you say you had to have some more leads or interest in it?
Yeah, and I think it's, we hear the metro markets, their product is there's no available space. So I think they're finally making that leap to, outside the metro markets, looking for buildings. So hopefully we can find somebody that this is a fit for.
He wants the original.
What's the status with the car people? Did they go ahead and get the new building, or
There's 2 here.
did they go ahead and do they plan on doing an expansion here shortly, or?
Yeah, for tire recycling, we went through their abatement process and buying that new machinery, and they've already prepped that area to accept that new piece of equipment, I think, in September. So
Like $1 million or something? Or
it's double that or more.
are they going to add employees, leave more employees?
I believe maybe a dozen.
Correct.
You want to say?
I think we
One of the
may
questions
need
I
to do
talked
something.
to Joe Ellis, and he's going to talk to you about, we have a hazardous waste day coming up. Is that something that the RISE would be
Yeah,
hoping to-
it kind of took a breath when you mentioned it, you know, it talks away David, but
I'm done.
I called our insurance people, and they're always the driver about events. We have to tell them, and so they thought if you could host it, maybe outside the fence on that parking lot area we have clear traffic movement, safety, et cetera, but they didn't, you know, yell and scream and say, you know, heck no, they thought it could be accommodated. So we'll
You're saying
bring
outside
that
the
up.
guardhouse there in the concrete area there.
So I have that on the agenda for our August meeting. Unless we need something sooner, because you would hold that in September, or when was?
Yeah, I think with the solid waste is meeting again in this month, and we had talked about doing something in the middle of the county. So it's just nice to maybe have the Rise as an option,
Yeah.
potentially, for a site, because I think whoever we end up going with, they're gonna be the ones to handle everything. The county won't necessarily handle any hazardous waste at all. It'll be whoever they bring in.
Your vendor, your.
Whoever it is, yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Good.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions for Bob?
Thank you.
Okay. Next is Romaine Trails Alliance.
Good morning, Les Zimmerman, Romaine Trails Alliance. I'll be very brief, just a bit of an update. I emailed all of you the invitation to bid. Just want to let you know and bring you up to date that we've entered the process of bidding this project. We have run one ad in the newspaper. The second will follow next Saturday. So that'll be 2 ads in the paper a week apart, which will fulfill our legal requirements. And we have reached out to a number of the local contractors. I just got word from HWC, our engineer on the project, that 7 plans have been downloaded. And I know of 2 other plans that have been purchased at Rapid Reproductions. So it looks to me like there's at least 9. We as a group have been reaching out to our local contractors, trying to get everybody involved. So we will have a pre-bid meeting starting at the railroad crossing this Friday, 1 o'clock. The bids are due August 17th. Your next meeting, we hope that you're going to be opening several bids. So
What's completion date on that, 60 days or 90 or?
no, we've got all the way through March, but we're hoping that the contractor, whoever that might be, will see the wisdom in doing this very quickly in the dry period of the year. So we're hoping, you know, maybe October.
You know, we're not cutting any trees that are already down, what trees we're doing.
We've
around.
cut all the trees. We have to move 1 tree for the crossing, and I have approval from U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I have an email to that effect. We did inspect the tree. It has to do with bat habitat, bat nesting habitat. So we've got approval from U.S. Fish and Wildlife to remove that 1 tree. So we should be in good shape.
How much communication you guys have with Park County about what you're doing? I know originally we was trying
Just with the Park County Trail Group, we are in contact with them from time to time. We are in contact with a 3-county group regarding a visionary 3-county trail loop. As far as Park County government, we're not talking to them at all. But I don't think they talk to their trail people either. So we feel very fortunate that we've got you all on board.
Anybody got any questions for Bob?
Les?
I mean, Les.
I'm gonna let him call you Bob,
Zimmerman,
Les.
Please state your.
Thank you, Bob.
So I'm heading from here, I'm heading over to Park County. I'm going to talk to Crane Excavating. That will tick off the last of my list of local folks to contact. So,
Well, thank you, Les.
thank you.
Thank you.
And you all. Somebody's got to keep me on line here.
Keep you in line, Tim.
Yeah, I appreciate that. This is being good to me. Thrive West Central.
I don't think anybody's here, is there?
Jail bond.
What?
You said the jail bond.
You can skip the jail bond.
Jail bond, sale approval? Britt?
Yeah. Is that in here?
Yeah.
I do. What I will say is.
Could you come up to the
Yes.
podium and identify yourself?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Dustin Meeks from Barnes & Thornburg, your bond counsel for the jail bonds. I will say it's a lot of documents. So for this, and they don't have to be signed in a public meeting. Their execution is already approved, so we might just wait until after the meeting to sign them to avoid our audience having to take a 30-minute break to watch you sign your name 60 times. So if that's okay with you, and I might take our building corporation folks out into the hallway and get them started on that. But there's not a resolution to approve today. I'm happy to report that on July 22nd we sold $17 million of bonds for pardon?
I was just telling her that's the date that you needed for
Oh,
that.
July 22nd. And the Baker Group Limited Partnership, which is an underwriter, purchased those for just over $18.4 million, and they're going to reoffer them on the secondary market, and so you get a premium for that. The net interest cost for them was just over 1.82%, which is a testament to an incredibly well-run county. That under 2% is a really incredible interest rate, particularly on a 20-year bond. So from our perspective, the sale couldn't have gone any better. And congratulations on selling them. And afterwards, we get to do the fun part, which is making your hands hurt by signing a bunch of things. And then I'm going to bother Brenda for all of the official documents, and we will turn around a transcript. Hopefully that'll be ready on the 10th or just after the 10th, and on the 10th everybody will have all the papers they need, and we'll all give each other the thumbs up, and the money will move by magic of computer, and that completes the process. So
Do we not have to approve, unless we have a special meeting, do we not have to approve that bond sale and subject to the receipt of funds, or the closing of the bonds and receipt of funds?
So the approval process that we did previously covers all of it, and your resolutions authorize you to execute the documents once completed. If you wanted to do a voice resolution, being happy about the sale, we could. But
I just thought we had to go through that motion.
No. The documents approve all of it in advance.
Okay. Good.
But congratulations.
What would you say from a financial side, and when you look at our county, what would you say as far as the status of our county?
That would be a much better question for the folks at Baker Tilly. But I'm working on a couple of other county jails, and they're all looking at interest rates above 2%. I mean, the strong cash position that the county has. The way this sort of conservative management of money, and knowing that you have strong cash reserves seems to be what Baker Tilly was really leaning on, and that the underwriter was very pleased with. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Drag this meeting today.
No.
Table next meeting.
Next meeting.
Yeah.
County Highway. Chip seal program. You can do anything on that, Brett?
Pardon?
Chip seal program.
Yeah, that started what is that, Tuesday? The
Started-
chipping seal program for the county. All three garages are working together now to initiate I think it's 20 miles in Division 1, or District 1, 20 miles, or 15 miles in District 2, is it? And 20 miles in District 3.
Yep.
And that'll take the rest of this month to be able to complete, maybe a little longer depending on how the weather holds up. And so the crews are going at it from dusk to dawn almost, seems like. Not
I'm
quite
starting
that
down
long.
south and working north, right?
Correct.
Yep.
So you'll see the trucks out there, they have the electronic signs out there, so everybody needs to be aware when they come upon these to give the road crews room to work and slow down when you come upon them. They should be obvious, they got electronic signs on either side of them as they're working, so.
Okay. Community crossing,
Did you want to do anything with bridge? Are we coming to the bridges later?
we're not
There-
on to that yet.
Okay.
They're next.
Community crossing grant, we do have the paperwork here to sign to get the process started as far as Wreath Rally. Total of the grant was, let's see here, $1,089,774 was the total of the what the bid came in at. So
We're still waiting, we passed all that last meeting and we're just waiting for funding at this point.
this is the paperwork for the
I
funding.
signed the paperwork.
Okay.
So I'm signing the paperwork to get the funding, so that will be on its way. That'll be done this year. We need to think about getting the program together for community crossing grant, another application. I was wondering, could we address some of this bridge issue?
There's a
Community crossing
host of
grant?
things that we can do, yes. All the way
I
from
mean, we got
sealing
this
to
this
bridges.
issue. A lot of people don't do up. The next thing is the bridges. A lot of things happen there. Some people don't realize, but I know in District 2, and you can correct me if I think you even verified this, that we had a 50-year rain.
It was more than that. We had a little bit over a 5-inch rain in 2 hours.
That's what I'm saying, but it was at least a 50-year rain. It might have been even more traumatic or even
Yeah.
worse than.
A greater one, yeah,
And-
than 50 years.
And I think a lot of people, don't understand, a lot of these culverts are failing, and I think people, want to know, is there an inventory, is there a thing, and there isn't. It's not something that we've had for years, and unfortunately, it's when they fail, we fix them, and it's just another thing we're trying to proactively start, is get an inventory of these. But I mean, a lot of these have been put in 60, 70 years ago, and they're finally failing. So it's just unfortunate we've had about, 5, 6 fail at one time.
To give you an idea, these galvanized culverts, they'll last about 20 years, and at that point, they should be replaced, and we're gone, I think, well
Way-
beyond
way
that.
over that.
So, one of the things that I think RJ started here with is entertaining the possibility of, or entertaining proposals for the development of the inventory for that, and we're also looking at the roads, the culverts, the ditches,
Signs,
and the
yeah.
signs, yeah. So we're looking at an inventory. The county doesn't have one currently. We do have the roads that Tim and group did hunt for the PACER program, the community crossings. We'll need to be revamping that one a little bit too. And that'll be working with our drainage board, with Ron and the surveyor through that process as well. So hopefully by the end of the year, we have a program together. It may not be complete at that point, but it'll be a work in progress anyway. And thanks to RJ for initiating that with one of our groups here.
So, on the bridges here, status of Bridge 90.
I think Bridge 90, I think bids are due in, 2 weeks, Britton, maybe? August 17th, maybe, or something
I
like
think
that.
that's right.
August 17th, bids are due. We were tasked with getting some right-of-way agreements from landowners up there, but come to find out, like 3 of the landowners live in Illinois. So I think we're gonna have to send them some mail to get them to agree to let us work on that, because nobody's up there to get those. But other than that, I think everything else is moving along smooth. You know,
Funding's
Bridge
in
90.
place and engineering all.
The only thing we ran into, I think that came up since the last meeting, was there's an AT&T line attached to the bridge.
Yeah, they're working through.
So the mechanism going through that is in process, or they have an agreement to, or I guess an agreement in principle at this point. With AT&T on how to move that. That'll be at AT&T's cost. The coordination will be at our cost, though, to coordinate the changeover from one side of the bridge basically to the other side of the bridge.
Specs are in the auditor's office.
Yeah, that's gone out. I think that it went out for bid. It's out
Yeah.
for bid at this point, so we'll get them back on the 17th.
Bridge number 15.
Bridge number 15 is still awaiting materials at this point, so as soon as the timbers come in, the
That's
white
a bridge
construction.
that was hit by the
Yeah, it was
vehicle
a
wreck.
Yeah, so there was no insurance on that. I think we reported that last time. There's no insurance on that, and so the county will be absorbing that cost. And is there any status on that, John, as far as pursuing?
Still trying to get a solid total on all of the total damages so we can file a lawsuit.
Okay.
And John, I would like to, on that same subject, on 300 West, we had a culvert head wall go off. There was an accident a few months ago, and I'd like to give that same information to you like Britton did. It was a driver with no insurance, nothing, and we're actually in the process of putting a $9,000 guardrail up due to this accident. So I'd like to see if the county can't recoup some cost from this individual. Yeah, I'll get the stuff to you as well.
Can we get uninsured motors?
Yes, that's one of the things we're going to be looking into, is whether or not we can make a claim against the uninsured motors to try to.
I was kind of kidding, but
No,
that's kind of
but
nice.
that's actually on my list. is
Yeah.
See if we can get anything out of that.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully, I don't think these people were hurt, but still, just
It's destroying
destroying
county
property, and then it's costing everybody else,
Yeah.
So,
Excuse me, RJ, I'm having a little trouble here. Now, is this coming out of the bridge queue?
If you want to come up to the
I
podium,
don't want to.
well,
Do I have to?
that's part of the requirements of everybody. I'm sorry, but that's the way it
but
is.
Cume Bridge is where most of the guardrail, the culverts, the bridge,
And that fund is way low, right?
yeah. Unfortunately, like with that bridge on 1450, we're talking about Bridge 90. It cost $157,000, and that was started prior to us back in December.
Okay.
So unfortunately, that was bought, and the engineering cost of it, and then what is it on here? County Road 775 South, 1050 South. These are some other failed culverts. And unfortunately,
There's one out by OPD.
yeah.
But I am probably having heard.
Yeah.
I think my hearing's pretty good.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's just like right now we're waiting to see where Bridge 90 comes in on the bids,
Okay.
because we don't want like Britton or Tim to go spend $100,000, then we're going to be shortfall somewhere, so we're trying to prioritize which one, and then that's why we were talking about that inventory. That way, in years to come, when I'm not here or Tim's not here, or Britton's not here, the next individuals can have a list to look at.
Right.
And prioritize them. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't think it'd matter who's sitting up here. These culverts would have failed, regardless of who was up here.
Yeah, I really appreciate your answer.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Are we on test flight now? Or no?
So your bridge is still waiting for material?
For the timber, yeah.
I would hope that'd come in the next couple of weeks here, but
Status of all culverts, we need to do an emergency declaration or whatever it is for mine. And I don't know what the process is, but we need to do it.
is that 775 South?
Yeah.
Make a motion that County Road 775 South be declared an emergency for the Highway Department, and thus implement the emergency procedures for road and culvert construction,
I'll second his motion.
or maintenance, I guess is a better way of putting it.
Discussion.
This is an important road for the county. It has, I thought, John had told me there's two businesses, one business on either side of this culvert, but apparently there's only one on one side, but it's a heavily used road, both residential and industrial, and then with the farming coming in, I'm not sure we can have it ready by the time the farming community starts their harvesting. But something that we need to do, otherwise we're going to be in the middle of winter, I think, and there's going to be a fairly large imposition to the public if we do not declare the emergency.
Yeah.
Talked to Clark Dietz, and then I got a, I guess the watershed is roughly a 1 mile, square mile, and you got like 42 feet of drop in that watershed, and they spec'd a culvert. They sent it to me yesterday from one of their pipe companies, and they want to put a regular round culvert in. I'd rather do something different, so I'm kind of talking, trying to find out the right way to do it. We're going to do a temporary fix on it right now. We got a quote for $6,000 to do the temporary concrete to shore it up, which will keep it. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep the road closed, but the people that live on that road, grant them permission to go through there, and it'll just be pick up and car traffic that goes through there, but no heavier than that until something is resolved about it.
I think with the declaration, we need to get two. One, there needs to be a plan developed of what we're going to do, whatever that is, and then we have to get 2 bids on that project. And I think that's the extent of it, is it, John? And then we have to let it, but.
What's that?
2 bids?
Yeah.
And that's the extent of it, is it not? So, with
For
the
the actual
emergency
replacement.
declaration.
I'm looking at more options right now as far as the replacement and what to do about it. And I'll talk to you later, get some more information.
Sure. But anyway, are we done with 775?
What?
Are we done with that?
Yes.
We're going to hold on County Road 1050 South right now. That one's, we've got funding for it, but because of the bridge work has come in, the engineering estimates have come in higher than what we anticipated that they would be. We're waiting for the bids to actually come in at this point. And because of 775 work pending, depending on what we're going to do with that, we're going to hold the funds for 1050 South now until we see where these 3 projects line up cost-wise, and then make some decisions once we get those numbers back in from the 2 other projects. Right now, we consider 1050 the lesser of the 3 as far as prioritization goes. And that's all I have for that.
The other thing is, we're probably, are you developing a check sheet for culvert checks?
Not yet. It's on the list to do, yes.
I'm just wondering, you know, how much real damage we really got. Some of the stuff has happened, we don't even know it's there yet. It's already happened.
I think that was part of the, if we get with like Clark Dietz or a company to do an inventory for us, that was part of the scope of inventory. They would do the status of some of the culverts up to a certain size, because they already do the bridges already.
That's the other question we had the question. Clark Dietz is not doing our culverts, they're just doing our bridges, correct?
Yeah, the bridges are paid basically by the state. Because bridges were failing across Indiana, they implemented a program, actually federally, implemented a program to start finding out where these bridges were at and providing the information as to what their conditions were. So that's why that's being done. It's not really a county program, it's a state program that's manipulated, put in place by the counties to do, and we're wanting to do something very similar to that with our, not only the culverts, but also the roads as well. So.
Somebody else brought up the question of bridges and culverts. A bridge, if I'm not mistaken, is a 20-foot, minimum 20-foot span, is that correct? 20
foot or larger, but there's also, you gotta be a little careful in that some culverts can be a bridge. If you have, it gets back to, you have to look at specifics, but if you have 2 10-foot structures, you could potentially have a bridge, or 12-foot structures, depending on what their shape is and watershed and so forth. So there's a possibility that you have multiple culverts that could constitute a bridge. But that's on a case-by-case basis.
What if they are classify as bridges with Clark Dietz or culverts?
Hmm?
I wonder if any of our culverts classify as bridges.
I'd have to go back and look at the inventory that we have. I don't know. It should show up on our, if there is a culvert or a pipe structure that qualifies as a bridge, it should be on our inventory. If it isn't, then it needs to be placed on our inventory.
So what's the status with Clark Dietz and maybe getting them to do that? Is it something we need to have a...
It's a work in progress right now.
Yeah, I think they sent a proposal at some point. We got to review it and look at it.
I think they sent a proposal to RJ back a few months ago.
I think they've improved it a little bit. I'm not sure what they changed.
Yeah, we had a discussion and they said, well, RJ had already asked for some information, and so that information, when we talked with them, kind of got, where we're headed with this is an asset management plan. That's where we're headed with it.
Yeah.
So it's going to take a little while to get to that point, but
it's not just that. It's, you know, like the one I asked for was including like street signs as well, because there's like federal grants out there to replace like 90% of our street signs if we have an inventory, which we don't have one now. But
and then this carries over further in that then we'll need to be asking council for monies to fund these grants, where we're not paying the 100%. When we buy, right now, if we buy a sign, I don't know if we're paying 100%, but we're...
Yeah, it's 100%. It's insane. For a stop sign and a post.
So once we have our inventory and we prioritize things, then we can start putting the monies in for the council and actually have a true budget for the council to look at instead of just monies being allocated to highway. We'll have a reason to have them in there.
Yeah, with this full asset plan, it would do a lot of justice for a lot of things.
Yes.
Hey, Mark, on how does emergency funds come, what status do they have to get to when we have a storm? I remember 2 years ago or 3, we had the washouts and stuff. The money came from the state to reimburse. And so what has to happen? Do what?
You might have them come up
Money
here.
comes from FEMA.
Okay.
The state has to meet its threshold, we have to meet our threshold. The threshold is based on the per capita population of the county, which right now for us, our threshold is right around between 52,000, 56,000, depending on what our last census comes in at. The state's threshold's in the millions of dollars. The reason right now that there's not a state declaration, well, let's get to the process. Once the county meets its requirements and we declare a disaster, and we send that off to the state then looks at how many counties have met their threshold. If there's enough that meets the state threshold, then they go to the president and try to declare a disaster, okay? During these storms, we haven't gotten there. They can do that as, like one storm on February 18th, all these counties declare and the state declares. Or they can do from, say, February 18th to like June 1st, because there was multiple storms, which is what we'd be looking at right now this year, okay? We had a lot of rain over about a 6-week period. We're not meeting that, the state's not meeting that, so they're not pursuing it. There is another path that if your county has gotten so bad and met its threshold, that they can apply to the state, and then they use money that's derived from fireworks sales. There's a tax that's put on fireworks, and that's the state's emergency fund. They're not opening that up as of yet for this period of rain. Okay, because like everything else, counties who do apply and get that money, that means that pot, just like our acute bridge pot, goes down, and you get to a point where if you keep paying out, you don't have any left for that big disaster that happens next year.
One of the things we're doing is that in case the state does declare we continue to have some failures and the county and state has failures, is that we've asked our foreman to be collecting certain data, and Mark's asked them for this data and has gone back, and where we have deficiencies, he's gone back and asked them to reconfigure their timesheets and the information on those timesheets. So we're collecting the data in case we get to that point that there's a declaration that we might be able to be eligible for.
These culvert failures aren't just happening this year, they've happened every year. Every time we have a lot of rain, we get culvert failures. It's, you know, like Britton says, these culverts are designed to last 20 years and they've been in the ground 60, 70 years. So if there's a better way to do it when you're putting that next culvert in, we might want to look at that.
Well, there's a difference in what he's saying too, when he's talking about galvanized culvert versus box culverts. The life expectancy is totally different. We're dealing with things that probably got 50 to 60 year life expectancy or more when you go to a box culvert, but they've done it. They serve their purpose.
Well, we've seen a lot of brick culverts, WPA project culverts, in the last like 5 years of building. Those have been, you know,
Yeah.
that's almost 100 years.
I like to keep my box culverts I got, to be truthful. I mean, they're more full flow, they don't hang up, they last longer, and so.
And it costs more.
No, they don't cost more, they last longer.
think
So they
box-
cost less.
Yeah.
Really, when
Sure
you think
would
about
have
it, the life expectancy.
That's a true statement. That's a
Huh?
true statement for the period of time.
Yeah,
I like the way you're looking at that. Good deal.
thank you.
So you want a test flight?
Okay, test flight of your,
We had our test flight the other, whenever it was, I think it was the Wednesday after our last meeting, and wasn't real pleased with the results that we had from it. There's a lot of light washout on it. You can still see the deviations in the concrete. One thing that was interesting when we were driving out there going in one direction, we picked stepping back one, we picked a road that had minor cracking and minor alligator cracking and different things, so that we wanted to see if we could actually pick it up from the air. And as we flew that the first time, and or as we drove down the first time, you couldn't see any of it, and the sun was behind us. And then as we turned around and came back, and kind of a shadow effect. It was amazing, the difference. I never really looked at it before, I guess, like that. But going one direction, you couldn't see much of anything, and then coming back the other direction, you could see everything. What we ran into was that on the flight was that there's a washout from the sunlight hitting the rock, and the fraction of the lighting was washing out the detail, if you will. And so the next step in that is to look at the lens type, and then also playing with some of the programs with like a Photoshop type programming anyway. But we're looking at polarization lenses that are going on there, which will change the lighting on it. And so it's a work in progress. I can't say the first one was exciting. Well, it was exciting, but it wasn't the results that I was hoping for. But we're still pursuing that.
And the test flight was no cost too, right? It was,
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
no
it was.
cost.
Yeah.
No,
No cost
outside
to county.
took my time. That's valuable.
I don't know. This is all about rating our roads. Did you cover that? Why?
Yeah, the test flight was for PACER program. PACER is the rating of the roads so that we can decide what condition they're in, what type of failures we're having, whether it's structural failures or edge failures or centerline failures, or anyway, different types of failures, and then that tells us what we should be doing to that road, and then what the shape of the road is in, when should it be replaced. That gets back to another thing we were talking about the roads and so forth, is the manner in which we prioritize our roads. So that'll get back to our asset management plan eventually. If we can get this to work, then we can do the whole county minus anything that has tree canopy on it in a couple of weeks, as opposed to taking months here to get it. And the other advantages of it is that we have a photograph of basically the whole county of the road conditions. So we can also use it for construction, for specifications. We can also make comparisons from the previous year down to a few centimeters across the whole structure of the road. So it has a lot of applications. We just got to get it fine-tuned where we can actually use it for the primary purpose.
Okay. Moving on. Ambulance audit.
The audit was supposed to kick off yesterday, and some of the gentlemen were sick, so it's actually, I think the kickoff happens Thursday. I guess the kickoff started yesterday with the ambulance audit, but getting the information together and ready to go. But the kickoff discussions will happen they'll start this Thursday, and then hopefully be complete, I think, in September. I'll have to look at the exact dates, but that process has started.
Anybody got questions on the ambulance? Comments?
If you want to, I can carry that a little bit further. The audit is, the purpose is to determine what we're paying for the ambulances, where those ambulances should be located, and then what is the demographics that we should be applying these, where should they be located, and what are the reasons that they should be located in these particular spots. One of the places that we're going with this eventually is that we're hoping that the county will eventually own the facilities that wherever these ambulances will be stationed. So it'll go another step, this audit will, to help us make those decisions as well as to whether we should own them, shouldn't own them, and if we do own them, where should they be, well, whether we own them or not, where should they be located. So it's a multifaceted study.
Next, the Lilith Festival. Someone here? Who put it on the agenda?
You look at me?
Is there something in the packet for this, or?
I did? Well, Little Italy Festival's coming up. That's an announcement, I guess.
What are the dates?
It's Labor Day weekend. I don't know what that day is.
Since we're on that topic, we are in the process in the boat race. Thanks to Mark O'Hara and local management has been a big asset. We had a meeting about a week ago. Mark put it together with Clinton Fire, Perrysville Fire, the boat club was there.
Park County.
Who else was there?
Montezuma.
Sheriff's Department was represented.
Sheriff's Department, ambulance was there. So the boat race had a plan we had to put together for the state. Like I said, Mark has worked on it. There also with that boat race, it'll be from Montezuma Bridge to the Clinton Bridge, and it'll be on a Saturday. It'll start at noon. There'll be the prize money's already been donated to first place for the kayaks, and first place for the canoes, and first place you can put John boats in, so anybody can go and float it, enjoy it. Entry fee's gonna be $10. First place for each one of those categories is $200. Second place is $100. Also, we're doing the Ed McGee Award. All this has been donated, so don't cost the county anything, and I'm one of the ones that sponsors. But the Ed McGee Award is Ed was the president of the boat club for like 40 years. He passed away 2 years ago, so there will also be an additional for the fastest boat. We get the Ed McGee Award for $100. So we want everybody who can come and enjoy it. The other thing is good, and Mark has been a big help in this, that it's one day that the Clinton Fire, Perrysville Fire, and Montezuma will have their boat rescues out on the river. So it provides, am I right, Mark? It provides a time that those rescue people can get together and have an actual exercise on the river.
So hopefully not an actual
thing.
one.
Do what?
Hopefully not an actual one.
Well, the practice.
A practice run.
And so that's coming up, and it's a nice event. I think it brings some interest to our river, which we don't utilize enough for entertainment. So that's coming up. So, moving on. Anything else about, anybody else got any question about the boat race? You can contact me anytime. Call us. Solar ordinance discussion.
The a draft has been prepared of ideas. It's been disseminated to the other two commissioners. It's not quite ready to be looked at as far as area planning goes yet, but we'll be remanding that back to area planning here, hopefully at the next meeting.
Yeah, I would like to push to have a work session before the next meeting and see if we can't go through some of the issues or ideas we might have in the ordinance, and then be able to send it back to APC at the next meeting.
What's the best times for you?
Evenings work best for me, so I figured between the next 2 weeks we could get together on a advertise.
I'll get you my schedule, and that way there you can just go out.
We could advertise a work session and.
Do we need to advertise a work session?
John, do you? I think you have to, don't you, a work session?
It depends. If you're meeting to purely perform an administrative function, in other words, discussing with employees how things are going to be done, then you don't fall under the publication statute.
Well,
You
this
can't
year
make
I'll-
any final decisions in an unadvertised meeting, and you can't make any final decisions in a meeting that's not open to the public.
Yeah, I know, like, when we was on the school board, we had work sessions where you'd go through, you know, plans, and everybody would throw their ideas out, you'd strike stuff, so I just assumed that most of them were open.
Well, the key is when you get into excluding the public. If you're having a work session and it's an unadvertised work session and you're excluding the public, you could have a problem there. If you're excluding the public, you have to fall under the executive order statute. You have to specifically state where in the executive order statute you have a right to exclude the public from a meeting. Otherwise, the key is not making final decisions. If you're, let's say the three of you are looking at a site where a bridge is failing, and you just go out there to look at it and get information. That can be a work session, doesn't need to be advertised, but you're also not excluding the public in that situation.
Well, this year would be the solar ordinance, and I'm not sure we'd make any final, I mean, you can't make any final decisions, but it'd be discussions among us on if we think this should stay in
I
it.
don't know if you need to advertise that, but you also shouldn't exclude the public. If
No,
you're
I would definitely want the
and a member of the
public.
public happens by and wants to see what's going on, because that's one of the keys to the open door law is when you start excluding the public, that's when you come under this extra scrutiny.
Yeah, I would, my recommendation would be if we have a work session to advertise it, let the public know we're having one, I mean, because.
You can't go wrong if you do.
Yeah, I mean, let them know that we're having a work session and,
You're gonna publish this?
I mean, we always did on the school board on our work sessions, but I mean, that's
Well,
just.
that's fine, it's just that we wanna do this in 2 weeks, and we gotta meet publication deadlines, and that's fine, but I think announcing it or posting it on I think the only requirement for posting is put it on the courtroom.
Well, that's fine, I mean, I just wanna
And
make
if
sure.
the
I
paper
mean,
wants to pick it up, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, that's, yeah.
We'll let 'em know.
Yeah, I just wanna let the public know, yeah, I mean.
Be published, it just
No.
would be notified.
Yeah, it
We're not
doesn't
making
need to
a
be published in
decision
the
here.
paper.
The
You don't have to post a notice
the
outside.
notification requirements from our standpoint, with the exception of things like the additional appropriations and the hoops that the council has to jump through for that stuff to meet legal requirements, there's not a legal requirement that it has to actually appear in the paper
Yeah.
so many
Twice,
days
right.
before or anything. The main thing is us as the local news media have to be notified of it. Even if we can't get it in the paper before the meeting, we still just have to be told that it's
That'd be
happening.
fine.
That's
Yeah.
the only
Well, I mean,
requirement
I'm
as
putting it
far
on
as
like
that goes.
Facebook or
Yeah.
something, I mean,
And we have other avenues
Yeah.
of doing that stuff to help get that information out, the same as you guys
Yeah.
do.
Whether or not anybody shows up for
So the deadlines don't impede you guys in that respect.
I would just say that we pick a date and just make sure that we make it public and known that, you know, we're having a work session, or at least that would be my opinion
It's
anyway.
48 hours. I need 2-day notice.
2 days.
So I can get out there.
2-day notice, is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Well, today, if you guys wanna pick an evening or something today, just let me know, or shoot a date to me.
You wanna set a date now?
Okay.
Maybe made public we're doing it, and that might
In
be.
2 days.
Well, think about it.
What's your schedule, Tim, your work schedule?
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm working 6. This week, I can do anything evening. I gotta check and see what else I got going.
Let's see, Friday. You wanna do next, what about, are you working next Monday?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday's nice.
What about
I could meet at 4 or something.
like a Tuesday?
How late can you?
I could do in the afternoon, like a Tuesday before you go to work, like next Tuesday.
Yeah, if you do it on a day that I'm working, I know I ain't got nothing going on. I mean, I can definitely make it like a 2 to 5 time.
You wanna do that like next Tuesday? Britton, would you be able to do Tuesday or Wednesday, or what's your schedule? Let's go back.
The Tuesday would not be preferable. I've
Okay.
got some issues.
Monday?
Yeah, Monday's fine.
Monday? What time Monday?
Say at 3 o'clock?
3 o'clock? You said council got a meeting at
Council
6?
6:30.
Well,
No, I gotta be gone
Oh, we
by
have a meeting at
5.
5 as well.
So it's,
that'd be 2 hours. We could probably hash, or at least go through some things in 2 hours.
it'd be nice we set a date here, at least we were making an announcement to the public.
Yep.
do that.
So Monday, 3 o'clock,
Yeah,
Commissioner's courtroom.
fine.
Alright.
August 9th.
Okay.
Anybody got any questions on that?
Work session.
How long have you guys had the solar ordinance? Isn't there 45 days you were supposed to get back?
We
to
rejected the
ABC?
ordinance.
I'm sorry?
The ordinance had passed originally, a solar ordinance did.
But once the APC turns it over to you, you're supposed to get it back in 45 days, is that what John said?
Yes, but that's
only
not applicable to what we're doing right now, if that's your question. But to answer your question, yes, I think it's 45 days that we have to get back to them. There's a dance there in which they have to turn back to us, and then it goes on for like 6 months if you go all the way through without an approval anyway.
Okay.
All right, well,
You got signatures to do here too? And you have to leave at 9:30?
9:45, but yeah. Cause is there anything else we're gonna vote on in here?
Yeah, we leave it at 45, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if they need me to sign those.
It's a matter of the Clinton Library thing.
Is it? Is it?
Actually, we have two signatures. I thought you were talking about Clinton Library.
We can hurry up and get through some of this. The status of comprehensive area plan. You got an update on that?
I don't have an update on
I think the area plan, that has been turned over from economic development over to the area plan people. And they've been in the throes of the wind ordinance at this point, so I don't think there's been any action. I talked to Penny sometime last week, I think, and I don't think there's been any action on that at this point.
Okay, next is Clinton Library appointment.
it. Is
Right.
that, what's her name?
I got an email from the library saying that they want to, because you guys asked me to ask them what they would recommend, and they said the lady they have on there they want to keep.
Rosemary?
Yeah.
We've had one application, or not an application, but an inquiry, I guess, come in through the auditor of another person who says they're interested. I sent back, I think, to Brenda or Ann, asked them to fill out an application. Okay.
Do you wanna table that till next meeting? And review the two applicants?
I'm not ready to make an appointment, or I'm not ready to vote on an appointment at this point, personally.
Okay, but what we said, we was going to take the recommendation of the local.
We were going to ask for the recommendation, not necessarily take it. We were going to ask for the recommendation.
Yeah, they've given us a recommendation, and then we can review the other applicant, and then next meeting we could make it. But that's good that they made a recommendation, though. We appreciate them doing that.
Right.
Moving right along, new business, Newport, Hill Climb,
Burt Morrison.
Burt Morrison.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Burt Morrison. I'm representing the Newport Lions Club and asking permission from the commissioners to utilize the courthouse lawn during that period, which is October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. We may have to use that a few days prior to that so that the non-for-profits in the county can set up their booths around the courthouse.
Okay. You guys have been doing this for several years.
Yes, sir. 50. This will be 53rd year.
50?
I believe.
So you think COVID we're going to have it this year for sure? And something really happened
We've
bad.
got everything headed in that direction, but let's just keep our fingers crossed that this stuff goes away.
I would move that. I don't have any objections. You said it was a Lions Club?
So, pardon me?
Lions Club, right? I would move to let the Lions Club use the courthouse lawn during the hill climb for the date stated.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion.
That's on a Friday?
Friday,
October-
Saturday, and Sunday.
The courthouse will still be open on that Friday, is there?
No, I think they,
First?
yeah, it's on the holidays. It's
Never
pretty,
mind.
it's pretty hectic down here during hill climb to drive.
A lot of real fast cars.
That was a
going
good
over.
discussion.
Yeah, that,
Well,
I don't think
believe-
courthouse employees.
Believe it or not, you probably, if you haven't been there, it's hard to even get up and down Main Street even on Thursday, it's.
Yeah, I think courthouse employees might not like us if we tell them they gotta work on Friday or Thursday for hill climb. I don't think they get to work very well.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
I've got a letter here.
Aye. I think we had a copy of, no, we didn't.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll do it again.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? I didn't say all of it.
You didn't hear us, man, we were.
I didn't say opposed.
No.
Okay. I'm not opposed.
You guys are such a great help.
Felt like
Youth
that's a
range
little
donation
sarcasm.
from jail.
Is the sheriff here?
Sheriff's not, but he sent us a email with a thank you letter from the ranch executive director extending an invitation for us to go over and view the however many acre facility over there and thanked us for the donation of freezers, I think it was, freezers and coolers.
It's right here.
Oh, is it in there?
Where is
It's over north of Brazil.
this? Brazil, Indiana.
It's on 59, just about halfway between I-70 and Brazil.
Oh, whoa.
That's what I would guess.
Just got those today.
Oh, wow.
RJ, I also think that Kim asked Mr. Yocum yesterday about these freezers for a program in Romaine County, where they are starting to get the leftover food from like the different restaurants that
Oh,
we
really?
support in our county.
Oh, I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, Mr. Yocum does. He talked to Kim yesterday,
Okay.
so it's up to you guys.
I think.
Well, we
it's-
already made that
I think we've
commitment.
already made the commitment to this ranch, but I think that's a great thing, whatever, starting in Vermillion County, and I think that's something maybe we keep in mind with, cause I know like the schools are getting ready to go through some renovations, I know like North Vermillion, you know, maybe we,
Like Casey's and Taco Bell, and those every night, and those throw all their foods away.
Mhm.
And the federal government has put a safeguard there where nobody can be sued, you know.
Okay.
But like the, and I never can remember the name, the place that's down
Hillcrest.
the river, the chateau, and places like that, this food can be taken there. That they need, Kim was meeting with somebody later today from Hillcrest and trying to get this program going, that none of that food will be thrown away.
Yeah.
It will be given to the poor.
Yeah.
And it's a voluntary program.
yeah, I think that's something good, yeah, definitely, if we can be known about it, and, you know, like other county leadership.
These freezers are gonna be used for 3 months, where it's not gonna help our county. And I understand your commitment.
Yeah.
I mean, but this would be used 12 months out of the year for
Yeah.
people in our county.
Well, and it might be something that maybe the county can do a donation of some sort, you know, I mean, maybe the
Well,
council or,
Yeah, you'll get it up and running.
Yeah.
Just go to that.
yeah. Well, tell them definitely keep us in the loop, or all the commissioners, and I'm sure even Ashley James, the council, would appreciate, you know, knowing some of that
Okay,
stuff.
no problem.
But thank you.
Okay, next, any other discussion on that matter? Vaccine mandate, I don't know if that's worded correctly. Brandon.
No, I'm not mandating vaccines.
Brandon, I've received about 20 phone calls after that was published with mandate asking if Vermillion County was gonna mandate county
There's a fellow in
employees.
Cayuga that wants to mandate vaccines. No. So Brandon Maruth from Cayuga. The issue is more a resolution by the commissioners against vaccine mandates, against vaccine passports. I presented the idea via email back in May or June timeframe. Presented it in person at the end of June in another meeting. The idea. I was asked by RJ to draft a resolution, which I did, and sent that to all of you.
Yeah, you presented us a resolution, because I know last time you talked to us,
Copy of it.
we didn't have time to really draft one ourselves, you know? That
Right.
way we could have one to look at and see if we like it, don't like it,
Right.
wanna change 100 things, wanna change 0.
And it's really, it's an amalgam of the other 4 counties that at that time had issued similar resolutions.
Mhm.
Since that time, Henry County has also issued a resolution which basically mimics our cards. based on common sense and basically Indiana law. At this point, Indiana law prohibits vaccine passports according to
The resolution would be something similar like the Second Amendment resolution some of those counties do.
Right, a clarification.
Just kind of
support certain issues. It doesn't, again.
Kind of like a reassurance that we could do it for a lot of things. You could reassure the public that.
Right. And again, for the sake of a lot of people that maybe are nervous, I have a neighbor that was presenting an issue to me yesterday. His wife works in Illinois. She's looking at potential termination for not getting the vaccine. So again, reassurance of the public on those sorts of issues.
I'm sorry, sir, I cannot hear you. I'm sorry.
You want to move up, maybe if you move up here.
Does anybody else have a turn?
I'm a teacher, so I hope you can hear me. I don't know, but I'm a little gravelly this morning. So again, it's just a matter of asking for kind of where the status might be of that. But
I've reviewed the resolution. I don't know if Britton or Tim have reviewed the resolution you presented via email. I don't know.
I skimmed it. I didn't read it for content or thought process anyway. I didn't see anything that was objectionable to me.
I did see a grammatical error, but I corrected that. So that's just simply seeing where it stands.
You don't have? Oh, maybe it was just sent to the commissioners then.
Okay. Do I need a copy?
I might give a copy to Brenda or Annie here so they can have it for the
An
auditor's
electronic
office.
copy. Sure. I can get your information. Okay.
Yeah, so they can have it.
Sir, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm wrong.
Here's a paper
What
copy.
this does is give the commissioners power.
It's a statement by the commissioners showing this, at the end of it, basically, I can read the last part.
Okay.
So therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners that it opposes COVID-19 vaccine requirements by any government, business, or school, that it supports Indiana Code 163911, which prohibits vaccine passports, so that Vermillion County shall not require immunization passports. Again, that's following Indiana law. Thank you. And it encourages businesses or schools in Vermillion County to avoid any measure or policy that would require employees, customers, patrons, students, or other persons to produce or prove COVID-19 immunization status.
So in essence, if the county health office says, we're going to go back to school masked, our children are going to be masked, the commissioners can override that.
No, it doesn't.
Then it doesn't have to do with
No, it doesn't pertain to
This is
masks.
more of, I think, like an affirmation of just that Indiana code of saying,
right.
We're saying we really support that Indiana code. Just like the Second Amendment thing, you're not really, we can't make a law by that. It's just a resolution to say,
Exactly.
like a resolution saying, hey, we support. I know a couple years ago we done it with the Vigo County Casino. The council passed a resolution saying we support that casino.
Right.
Don't-
Like Second Amendment sanctuary sort of resolutions where, we.
Okay, when Tim made his post, it was basically saying, first of all, that we could do away with the county health office out of St. Joe's County. That's what they were saying.
When I made a post of a news article that was put out. There was my name was there. I did not say I endorse it. I didn't say I was for it. I didn't say I was against it.
But usually when we make a post, we're making a statement.
That's more the essence
It was
of
put
it
out,
here
I
is-
put stuff out to make public discussion, number one.
But we all have to agree when we make a post, we're pretty much backing it or
No.
agreeing with it.
No.
Okay, that's your opinion. When I make a post, I'm wanting people to think.
That's what I want people to think.
This
we're
gentleman
getting
has
away
the
from
floor right
stuff
now.
like this.
Let's get some decorum here.
That's fine. Again, I was just asking for a
Yeah.
status perhaps, and then if
Yeah,
someone
like I
looked
said,
at it
I've
legally to
reviewed
make
it.
sure that it was-
If it's up to the other commissioners, if you guys want to put it on the agenda next meeting or following meetings and we can discuss passing, declining, we can put it on the agenda for an actual, or maybe we read it and then let the public hear it and then we do what we
Can
do
I
for
get
the.
a copy of that, sir?
Sure.
But,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Britton.
yeah, if you guys are.
We kind of get off base here. I do. Thank you for.
Yeah, if you guys want to put it on the agenda, we could do that
Yeah.
for the next meeting, put it on there and discuss it.
Read it and then we can have discussion.
And discuss it, yeah.
And I'll, like I said, there's just a couple of corrections, I can resend it, and then I'll
So, yeah, okay.
CC them. So.
Sounds good.
Can we post that somewhere on our site?
Yeah, we'll get it on
Be
it.
good public information.
Website.
And you don't need to do the last one, because we've already done it.
The resolution we already
Yeah,
approved.
already
it.
done.
Okay.
And yeah, if it comes up in another meeting, perhaps to reword the.
Yes.
Yeah, mandates. Save me like 20 calls, Brandon.
So I
Save me
don't
some
get
phone calls.
trash thrown in my yard or something.
Your name is Brandon, not Brando, right?
Right. My name is Mike Davis. No.
No, it's. Oh, just kidding.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
One thing I want to say about broadband, kind of doing some research on broadband, I don't think hardly anybody, if anybody knows, the federal government had an auction for provide broadband, and I think in like 5 to 7 years for the county. Charter Communication got the majority for the county, and then I was informed Friday by the state of Indiana that they Charter backed out of their agreement. So all the area that was supposed to be covered by the federal government funding for broadband for Romaine County just went away. The original sheet that we had when doing research on broadband, probably 95% or 90% of the county would be covered by the federal government funding for broadband. And now, since Charter Communication backed out of their agreement, we are not in very good shape as far as the future, as far as broadband. So that just happened here last week. And you guys won't talk to me later about it. It's a pretty in-depth situation, but that's what it is on that. Public comment. I see Randy Dreer's here. Randy, you got anything to say or any comment you want to make or anything you have?
Thankfully, good Lord gave me, put my feet on the ground like I can today.
Do I with it?
Amen.
Okay. Do you have any complaints with the county, us using county equipment or anything? Or
Did I say I did, Tim?
I'm asking you. If you got it right here to
If I
say
have
it.
something I want to say, I'll say it, okay?
Well, I'm asking
I
you.
can't hear you up there half the time. You need to invest in this here or put the mic in front of you.
Okay, I asked you a question.
I
in
don't have to
public
answer,
comment.
do I?
No, but you have a right to if you want to.
Well, I have a right to deny or answer. I'm not answering.
Okay, that's what I need to know. Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Go ahead, Ron.
What did the commissioners decide about the Cuba drain ditch project? Engineering company's waiting on us to do something.
Well, my understanding last time I heard, I think from you, is you went to the meeting and they didn't have the meeting. And then you went back and then I heard here last
Then I
week.
presented the letter from the
Yeah,
county Cuba requesting the county to move forward
Yep.
with the project.
Okay.
And agreeing that it would become a county drain.
Okay.
We're still waiting on.
So I've always-
Eric's
it was
still
always-
waiting on us to make a decision.
Yeah, I
to Move
don't.
forward or not move forward.
It's always been for me to go. I mean, well, I might have missed something
Well,
here, but
I've sent several inquiries out and I'm not getting anything.
I
back.
sent an inquiry back to you, I sent a response back to you, said I've been in favor of this going ever since the beginning. I know I sent that to you. And I'm saying, why do we need, I mean, help me here. We might overlook
Well,
something,
my
so.
question is, do you want the drainage board to pay for it out of our capital funds? Or is the commissioners gonna pay for it through some other method that I'm not
Okay,
aware
well,
of?
that's a good question.
That's where
so.
we're at.
What is it? Does
Somebody
the,
needs to sign that contract
Okay,
with
that's fine.
HWC. Who's gonna do it, the drainage board or the commissioners?
I would say whatever fund it comes out of would probably be the ones that would do that. I mean, if it comes out of drainage board, I would imagine the drainage board would.
That's all I'm asking.
Well, I'm in favor of the project. I mean, is
Oh,
your
I'm
drainage,
not-
is your drainage
we're all in
board in
favor of it.
favor of doing it, Ron?
As far as I know, yes.
If they're in
Yeah.
favor of doing it, I would recommend to use the capital projects in that fund. I know I've sent back that I was.
Rick's the president of the, so as far as
There's no legal entity there yet, is there, for Cayuga drainage ditch? Has that been?
No,
you're
this is just for getting the engineering done. Getting the design and the engineering.
I
done.
think we're going to have to discuss the mechanism, or the part.
Technically, I've been on this project since 2009, and it's still where it was when I worked for the county back in 2009.
Well, the situation, that whole thing went away for years and years and years, until just 2 years. There had been nothing going on.
Tim, it's been there for 20 years.
That's not what I'm saying. It's been there. But it went away for a long time, and no one else was pushing it until it came up where it was blowing in the guy's yard up there, and we went back and started wrestling.
My opinion is that we're not ready to engineer this yet. We don't have an entity there that's willing, a legal entity that's gonna take this over. So I believe that the next step is to have a entity who is actually going, just like the Dana Ditch Board, there needs to be a Cayuga Ditch Board, of which is gonna be recommended to the
drainage
commissioners.
board. That's gonna be a county drain. That's what
Okay.
you asked for in that letter, and that's what they gave us.
Then you need to prepare, if we're at that point then let's discuss this. I don't think that, okay, the drainage board needs to make a recommendation to the commissioners and provide a document, just like what the BTA does, of what it's gonna cost, what's gonna be done, what the deliverables are, basically the full contract.
Eric already gave us all that.
And it's been officially presented to the board? I don't remember seeing a contract yet, as a
We
commissioner.
don't have a contract yet. We need
The
to get
board
that
needs
back.
to develop a contract and bring it to the commissioners for approval. And then there has to be a funding mechanism for it as well. How is it gonna be funded? As far as not only just, well, the engineering, if that's one step, and then what the costs are to pay for the thing and how that's gonna be paid for. But a whole plan has to be developed. It just doesn't all of a sudden get approved and we're gonna go do this.
We're at that point.
We need a contract, and the funding mechanism of how we're going to get from A to Z, from the beginning to the end. We're already past the
We've got all
beginning.
that. He already sent us all that. Eric already sent us all that. It's been distributed.
Okay. Is there a reason why the auditor doesn't have it to present on the boards?
That's what I'm asking. Do you want the drainage board to take
Yes,
care of it? Or do you want
yes.
the commissioners to take care of it?
No, the commissioners don't take care of that. The drainage board takes care of that. The
Yeah,
drainage
exactly.
board is the owner of this. There's no Cayuga board, there's a drainage board. I guess that goes back to what the others, at some point, we need to also understand what's going on with the Dana Ditch Board and these other two entities, or the other two legal drains that we have also, whether they're legal drains or not. But we need to get a status of those, of where we stand and who's in charge of those as well. Also, we need an understanding of how that distribution of funds are going to be done. I'm still not understanding how that's been structured as well.
Could we talk about that Tuesday in that meeting? Include that?
No, because this is a longer discussion. It will take more than 2 hours with the one thing.
I'm just trying to figure out some way we can get together quick and.
Well, the drainage board needs to have all that packaged together to bring to the commissioners.
Okay. So drainage board's gonna oversee that project?
Yes.
Okay.
That's their job, our job.
Okay. So you're gonna make another presentation, we need, get the paperwork to us, but you already have that paperwork done? That's all
The
done?
thing I was asked to do is get a letter from the town of Dana that says they want the county to do the job, and if it gets installed, then it becomes a county regulated drain.
Okay.
I've got that.
Okay. So the next
We've got
step
the
is.
estimate from Eric Smith, HWC, to do all the engineering.
Okay.
So all we need is an agreement between us, the county, whether it's the drainage board or the commissioners, and HWC to move forward on the
For the
project, to
engineering.
see what we can do.
Okay.
That's
So.
where we're at.
It's a little more than that. We have to get all the way to the end here. How's it gonna be maintained for perpetuity?
We're not even do that. We don't even know that we can do it yet.
You're just trying to get approval for the engineering,
Just to get the engineering done.
that's, to come up with the answers to.
The thing I need from the drainage board, as president of the drainage board, I'll ask for it then, I guess, is that we need to have a complete plan from the beginning to how it's gonna be maintained and how that funding is gonna come about. It doesn't do any good to do the engineering and not have any type of funding mechanism there or a way of maintaining
If it's a regulated
it.
drain, then it's the county's responsibility. Then we'll have to
So
go back
it sounds
and
like that
budget.
you guys are on the drainage board, you guys need to have a meeting.
there's more to be done than just do the engineering at this point, and I'll talk to you a little bit later about that.
When you guys gonna have another drainage board meeting?
We're not scheduled till September right now. Nobody would come to the meeting, so we kind of scheduled around the farmers'
Okay.
schedule.
That sounds like that needs to go to that meeting. I mean, you guys discuss it any further. Okay? You guys.
I agree.
We're trying to get scheduled up a Talks Away Day, or whatever you want to call it, hazardous waste day. So I think isn't the solid waste working on that?
They have a meeting on the 10th, I think it is.
Okay.
It's supposed to be today, but
That's
it's
another thing
moved.
coming up. Anybody else? Moving right along. Anybody else? Comments, complaints, issues? Get a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
I'm waiting, debating. Sure, a motion to adjourn.
Discussion.
No.
I second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
We need to put the drainage board on here